It's time for Bringing the Heat with Bryan Nolen.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Is another edition of Bringing the Heat with Bryan Nolen. Yours truly here on this week's edition of the program. I got a good one for him. My man, Mr. Anthony Damcott, is going to be joining the program. We're going to be diving on into the latest news and notes. Kyle Larson's waiver finally got approved, and is there a new series coming to NASCAR? We'll be diving into that and more. But without further ado, let's dive on into my interview that I conducted in Portland this past Saturday with the driver of the number 24 car for Sam Hunt Racing, Mr. Ed Jones.
Now it's time for
Here with Ed Jones. Ed, you told me before the race you were happy with the top 10. Well, you got better than that. You got a top 5. Just
To Go Into the Inferno with Bryan.
right now, folks, at this time, I'm going to bring in the program. Driver for Sam Hunt Racing, Mr. Ed Jones joined the program. What's going on, man? How are you?
Yeah, good. Excited to be here. It was a hectic practice session with so many cars on the track, but felt like we had some decent speed in qualifying. We were decent, so unfortunately we had a few issues with the cars, so we have to start at the back, but I'm confident for the race.
Now, obviously, you ran at Austin. What was the most valuable thing you learned, and then just what was the biggest difference that you didn't expect to learn?
I think all of it was just so different, especially, practice is so short, 15 minutes, so it's hard to really try things out. You just have to be on it straight away. But for sure, just having that experience and doing pretty much the whole race distance really helped for this weekend. This track, again, is just so different, and although I have prior experience here, all your markers and references are completely different, so it was a challenge this morning. But I think our car is more suited for the race, and so, yeah, excited to get going here.
You mentioned already being here. When you go to a track that you are familiar with, but it's in a different series, I mean, you spent 3 times here, what all can you bring and apply to this race from the past 3?
It's actually sometimes makes it a bit more difficult because I've been so used to certain references or braking so late in the other cars have raced here that it's easy to almost forget that you're in the Xfinity car, and so you just got to keep on top of that, especially in the brake zones, because if you leave it a bit too late, you're long gone past the corner.
You've obviously mentioned that you have been in plenty of different racing series. How different is NASCAR compared to the other ones? I mean, you spent quite a bit of time in IndyCar, as well as some other ones. Just how different is this?
Yeah, it's massively different. The whole style, braking, turning, traction, it's all it's almost like a completely different sport in a way. But I'm really enjoying it. The racing's amazing. That's the best thing about it. And so it was a battle at COTA, and I'm sure today's going to be a battle again.
What do you want to take away from your races here in NASCAR? Obviously, I think you got 3 this year, maybe more. Yeah. Just what do you want to take away from this experience?
Yeah, just building on the progress we made through COTA, have a solid race, and try to get some top 10s in today and next weekend.
Obviously, I mentioned the IndyCar background. You have participated in the Indy 500. It was recently this Sunday. Just can you tell our listeners what it is like going 220-plus miles an hour, lap after lap after lap?
It's one of those things, the first few laps you do when you first go to IndyCar, the speedway feels very fast, but very quickly it feels quite natural. Everything slows down for you until it goes wrong. Then everything feels fast again. But the oval racing was some of my favorite, and I would love to get in a NASCAR and drive on some ovals soon.
Last but not least, you mentioned you would love to get on some ovals. What does the future hold for you? Do you want to run full-time in NASCAR, go back to IndyCar? Just what does the future hold for you?
I'm not sure at the moment. I'd love to run full-time in Xfinity next year. Again, there's so many things in play to make that happen, and just got to keep working, and we'll see.
Once again, that was Ed Jones. Big thanks to Trisha Warfall from Sam Hunt Racing for coordinating the interview. She's one of the best, so much, much appreciated. So thank you so much. Let's dive on in now to what is still hot.
What's still hot? It's time to upgrade you on the latest news in NASCAR.
Alrighty, what is still hot? You know what is still hot? The work that this man brings to the table every time he is at the racetrack. At Anthony Damcott on the Twitter sphere. Mr. Damcott, what's going on, brother? How you doing, buddy?
We're doing all right. I mean, I think I'm finally fully recovered from what I witnessed at North Wilkesboro how many weeks ago. So I'm here and fully energized now, ready to get the summer started.
I love it. And I know one person that is ready to get the summer started. That's Kyle Larson, because it was announced on Tuesday morning that his waiver finally got approved. And once again, everybody can just take a sigh of relief. Mr. Anthony Damcott, I think the biggest question is, why did it take this long?
Well, I think the short answer is I don't think NASCAR, when it came up with the waiver system, had voluntarily skipping a race because weather at another race prevented them from getting to the track in their bingo card for whatever might be grounds for a waiver. So I think that's the short answer. But the long answer is kind of an expansion of that. This is something that NASCAR has never seen before. I mean, obviously, we've seen with waivers that injuries and illnesses are generally going to get you a waiver, regardless if it happened in a NASCAR race or, in the case of Chase Elliott with snowboarding. They've given waivers for family matters, personal matters, stuff like that. They've even given waivers for suspensions. And I think those who are arguing for Kyle Larson to get a waiver was, well, if you're going to give a waiver to people that you suspended, then there's no reason that he shouldn't get one here. I think it was just a matter of this is something that I don't think they ever thought could be possible. And the only reason that it is because obviously Kyle Larson attempted the double. So really, you don't see, there's nobody in full-time NASCAR that's going to try to go off and run Road America for IndyCar this week. This is really an issue that's only for the 500. Maybe if we get down the road, maybe someone wants to try like Le Mans or something like that, 24-hour Le Mans. Okay. Really, those are the only two races where this would be an issue. So I don't think NASCAR in their wildest dreams had thought that this could be a thing that they had to worry about, especially because, I mean, past few years the weather at Indy has been so nice that it shouldn't have been an issue for Larson to get back before the start with plenty of time, unless of course he won, which he very well could have. But it was not something they had planned even like 2 days before the 500. I mean, we all know that planning for weather is kind of a pain in the bee to work around because we can't control the weather. So I think it just comes down to this is something they've never seen before. Larson never got in the car for the 600 because it got called at the 373 mile mark or something like that. He kind of brought the weather with him from Indy. He never got in the car, and I think that made it even harder. I think had he gotten in the car and finished the race, it would have been more cut and dry. But because he did miss the entire race, that I think they needed to spend a little bit more time than they would with, say like with Eric Jones when he broke his back. That was kind of a cut and dry, like apply for it and you'll get it next day, maybe day after. So I think it was just an unknown thing for NASCAR. So it's a shame that it did take this long. I felt like it could have been more cut and dry, but give credit to NASCAR. They did take their time with it and actually sat and pondered, and which tells me that they were considering denying the waiver. So they did their due diligence, and I think, whether you agree that they made the right call or not, I think it was good on them for actually taking the time to sit down and examine it instead of just signing it off as approved or denied.
Yeah, I do think that none of this would have happened if he just would have gotten the car. But then again, Rain had a different idea. And so with that being said, I'm glad that all parties prevailed. And I mean, Anthony, just watch. He's going to win the Indy 500 next year, and then we're going to have this happen all over again. So
watch them deny him next year because they're like, well,
exactly.
We've done this once. We're not going to do it again. That would bring the house down.
Oh yeah. That would be something. Let's dive on into. I was scrolling my Twitter when I got home from work today, and very, very interesting from Bozy Tatarevich. He said, interesting comment from Dana White on the Flagrant podcast. Dana said, and I quote, "I'm flying to NASCAR and we're doing a deal with NASCAR. We're going to be the electric series for NASCAR. Yeah, we're working on that deal right now." Um, Now, currently, Dana is an investor in Nitrocross, which currently races the Spec FC1X electric race car. NASCAR may be looking to leverage those resources for their own stuff. That's according to Bozy. I feel like this kind of came out of nowhere. I certainly did not have this on my bingo card. Did you?
No, I mean the most that we heard out of anything electric for NASCAR was they were gonna showcase it at the Clash. Then the Clash got moved around, and we ran on Saturday night, and we really haven't heard anything from the electric side of NASCAR since. So this is kind of out of left field, especially for someone like Dana White. I'm not really sure how he got involved, but I mean that of the people who I would think would be more involved with the electric side, I'm a little surprised that it was Dana White. But Dana White's a promoter. He's able to he can, if there's anyone who probably could get a deal done and maybe get this off the ground instead of just being in development hell for how many years. How many years have we talked about an electric series in NASCAR? I mean, gosh, I probably was still in high school when they were still talking about it, and I'm 22, about to be 23. So, who knows? If there's one man who could probably get it off the ground, it probably would be him. But yeah, kind of a shocker to a slow news day, really.
Let's dive on in, Anthony, to our soundbite of the week.
Well, Tony, what angered you at the end of the race? What did you take issue with?
What the hell do you think I was mad about? Dumb little runs us clear down to the infield. He wants to about everybody else, and he's the one that drives like a little. I'm going to bust his ass.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
And short track racing.
It's time for the sound bites of the week.
If you were tight on fuel, you would have been able to baby it or not and still win the race, right? Most likely.
If we knew we were short on gas, I would have saved. We had tons of laps to save. We just didn't know.
Yeah.
Tough for Tim Warrior.
Brian, what Brad said you would have got out of the car?
Oh, he just said, good job. Just nothing you can do about that, and just give me a little pat. So, words of encouragement by the old boss and teammate.
It seemed, talk about that battle with Bell.
Once again, that was Ryan Blaney after the him running out of fuel with one lap to go. Anthony, I mean, it felt like everybody was fine on gas, and then we see him. We saw him slow down, and then Cindric passed him on the final lap. I was like, what's happening? I was shocked at this. How shocked were you to see him run out of gas?
Honestly, I mean, they talked about the fuel window being like 75 laps or something like that. So, those who even saved could probably go 80, 85. For it to be a 65 lap run and suddenly he's one lap short was mind-boggling. I mean, we all thought like when he had lapped Daniel Suarez and then like a straightaway later he got him back, and Austin Cindric had closed the gap from 3 seconds, and in like 4 laps he was already like a half a second behind. And that's just I feel like that's I can't criticize crew chiefs without being one, but I also feel like that's kind of rule number one of crew chiefing, is making sure that the car has power just in any regard, whether it's fuel, electric, making sure the motor is good, so I'm a little shocked. And obviously they, Larry McReynolds and all the TV crew chiefs have gone back and said, yeah, it came down to the fact that Blaney put in 1 can of fuel while Austin Cindric put in 2, and that was the difference, because obviously Blaney had leapfrogged Cindric on that final pit stop. I think the biggest surprise to me was once Christopher Bell had his motor issue, because of the lead that Blaney had, I'm surprised that he didn't just naturally, not necessarily back it down to to pace, to save fuel, but like just pace himself a little bit, because he had all that lap traffic in front of him and Daniel Suarez that like he had like a 3.5 second lead. I'm surprised that he didn't just naturally pull it back and just kind of ride around to the finish, which probably could have saved him enough gas to get to the finish. That was the big surprise to me. I mean, Christopher Bell was his biggest adversary in the race. It was a great battle, and then obviously Bell's power went goodbye, and Blaney was able to hold on. So I'm surprised he didn't just take it easy.
Once again, let's dive on into the checkered flag and wrap this program up, Anthony.
It's going to be a drag race all the way back to the start-finish line. No caution. They're side by side, right to the line. Big crash. Here they come. Checkered flag.
The checkered flag is out, and it's time for the final thoughts.
And final thoughts are in the air. Whatever you want to rant, rave, or anything in between, Mr. Anthony Damcott, the floor is yours, brother.
Well, for those of you who have supported my work with Front Stretch, you'll know that I am the Truck Series reporter, writer. I handle the Truck Series side of things, and this is the beginning of a 3-week off period for the Truck Series, and so this is another call to expand the Truck Series schedule. I'm a little shocked that we don't, the only road course we go to is Circuit of the Americas. I think they would do very well at Sonoma this weekend, or going back to Mid-Ohio. Don't know why that was taken off the schedule. It's just a shock that these guys, and really, if you look back at Truck Series schedules in the past, their schedule's been really inconsistent anyway. We'll race the first 2 or 3 races of the year, and then we'll have 2 off weeks. We'll race another race, have another off week, race 4 races in a row, and then have a month off. For being the third tier series, I'm just a little surprised that we still only have 23 races on the schedule. I would love, like I said, personally, I'd love to see them rip it at Sonoma this weekend. Obviously it's a full weekend already with ARCA West and, Xfinity and Cup, especially looking forward to the Cup Series with, the Australian V8 Supercar takeover. But this is another call to expand the Truck Series schedule, because I just legitimately think we have too fewer races. And if we want these guys to move up and, race on Sundays, they can't be running 23 races for 3 seasons and then expect to, magically be able to run 36 just like that. So, it's a little off topic to anything this weekend, but being the Truck Series guy, I feel like it's my duty, my obligation to put out a call to give us some more racing and put us on tracks that, even if they're ARCA tracks, send them to Berlin with the ARCA Menard Series or something like that. Just give us more races. Give these guys more experience than just, they run 20 races in ARCA and then they have 23 in the Truck Series. Give them more. That's not really a step up.
It's the final weekend of the regular season, or should I say it's the final weekend for NASCAR on Fox. And what I saw last race was I felt like they were just giving it in. I saw mistakes. Brad Keselowski finished third, 3 Indy, not third, but 3 Indy. I saw that Justin Allgaier. Yeah, exactly. I saw Justin Allgaier was in the 5. Shane Van Gisbergen was in the 16. Kaz Grala was in the 15. None of that was true. I saw white flag was in the air and there's 2 kids on my screen. I saw them trying to do a pyro shot that wasn't available. I saw Mike Joy saying that Ty Gibbs almost ran over someone and they took 17 million minutes to get there. I mean, why are you just mailing it in? Finish the season strong. Sure, I know that they've been very, very hard, including ourselves on it, but finish strong. You don't want to go out like this. I mean, when it comes to January, people are going to be like, oh, yeah, Fox is back. Great. How about you end the season on a good note and not just these careless mistakes that could be prevented? Once again, Mr. Anthony Damcott at Anthony Damcott. Mr. Damcott, you mentioned the Truck Series. What are you going to be cooking up on frontstretch.com, and then plug your socials, my brother?
Yeah, I write Trucking Thursdays every week. This week we'll be diving a little bit into the waivers. We'll be talking about Johnny Sauter's suspension in 2019, really kicking off the whole suspension waivers for suspensions, kind of how Pandora's box opened from that, instead of, Chase Elliott, the more prominent suspension, obviously, from last year. But have that, obviously, me and our good buddy Michael Massey co-write Fire on Fridays. So we'll be, look out for that this Friday. And then, the Truck Series is off. So aside from those, I'm off until Nashville on June 28th, the day after my birthday, actually, where we get to see them rip around the concrete of Nashville and get to ride track in the trucks then. And then for being at the track, my next race will be Indianapolis weekend, IRP and Indianapolis. So as far as socials, you can follow me on Twitter at Anthony Damcott. I have a lot of hot, cold takes. I talk about everything from NASCAR to my alma mater, West Virginia Wesleyan College, to, what the weather's like here in Akron, Ohio on a given day. So follow me for, a lot of just kookiness.
Once again, at Anthony Damcott, at the Bryan Nolen, even Trey Lyle with his adorable dog in this photo. Big thanks to Trey for producing this great program. Once again, coming up on the Front Stretch Podcast Networks, we got Through the Gears. My man Tino's going to get all the latest betting odds, and then once again, Stock Car Scoop. And then, like we do every single Tuesday, Happy Hour live on YouTube as well as on the podcast feed right here every single week. For Mr. Anthony Damcott, I am Brian Dimity Nolen. Thank you so much for joining us. Talk to you next week.
What's up? Michael Massey here, frontstretch.com. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button.